Start with today, I want you to have a look at these images that you can see in front of you. And these are photos taken by an American photographer called Timothy Hogan. And he actually gets paid to take photos of products that are then used to create ads. So he specializes in a lot of electronics, a lot of drinks, and a lot of perfumes. So there's something different about these ads compared to the ones that we previously looked at in class. And we're going to have a look at Timothy Hogan just quickly to start with today because we want him to be some inspiration as we go into today with thinking about preparing for creating our own ad. So there are some main differences here. His ads are quite simplistic and what I would call as quite luxurious and classy in their appearance. And thinking about some simple shapes and gradients that we could easily replicate on Photoshop to mimic the types of backgrounds that you can see for these products. So if you're interested in what he does, it's really good to go to his website, timothyhogan.com, and you can have a little look at the other ads he creates. But what I would like you to do is, once you've had a look at Timothy Hogan, in your photography booklet, there is a page where you're going to be brainstorming objects that you can photograph for your ad. So it will look like this slide here that is currently up on your screen. Now this brainstorm is worth 2.5 marks for your overall photography mark for this project. So you are expected to list a number of different types of options. So if you could photograph anything at all, I want you to think about what you can list and write your ideas around each category on your brainstorm. In order to get full marks for this, you really want to be aiming for at least 5 different and well thought of products that you could list around beverages, food, clothing, and other. So other could be, technology, really anything else that doesn't fit into the other types of categories. So just pause this video so you can go and complete the brainstorm and then click play. The next step after doing your brainstorm is now to collect inspiration. So for this, I want you to open up a new Word document or Pages document, and you're going to start to collect images from the internet. So on the screen is my example. So add your name up the top and add a title for ad inspiration. And what I've started to do is collect ads that interest me. Now, the ads I'm collecting relate to the product I'm most interested in creating an ad for. So at the moment, I'm thinking along the lines of some sort of chocolate-based product, whether it be a chocolate bar or a chocolate spread. That's what I'm interested in. So I've collected things like Nutella, Snickers, Crunchy, Cadbury Dairy Milk, and Bounty so far. So it doesn't have to be one particular type of brand. It just has to be as much inspiration for a type of product that you can find. So simply by going to the internet, I'm going to now add one for M&Ms. And when you do your search, it's sometimes tricky to try and find appropriate ads because I can see what crops up. Sometimes the product packaging isn't in the ad, where the ad we create, it is going to be there. So it's pointless me choosing an ad like this one because it doesn't have the product packaging in there. It's overall not a very creative or interesting ad. So you might have to scroll down and actually do some eliminating to try and work out what are some good ads to include on your inspiration page. So even something like this one is a bit better. It's got the product packaging down the bottom. It's got some font down here. Even though it's quite simplistic, I can see it's got a gradient. So I'm going to collect this one for my inspiration page. So simply doing right click, collect image, pop it onto your Word document. Okay, so Command V as a little shortcut to paste. And one little tip with organising your images quite easily, make sure your picture's selected, click on picture format and go to the arrange option. And if you click on that, you're able to change the wrap text to actually go in front. And that means I can now move this image anywhere without it moving my other images or text on my page. So this way you can resize your images just to fit them all on one. So you're aiming for probably about 8 to 10 images on one A4 page for our inspiration today. So just pause this video while you complete that page and then come back to it. So now that you've got all your images on your inspiration page, what we're wanting to do is try to recreate some of the special effects or fonts or layouts that you can see on these ads in Photoshop. So this is kind of your last time to play around with creating effects, asking your teacher for any help if you're unsure how to do it, so that you know what you're capable of and what you can create in order to design the best possible ad for your product in the lessons to come. So I'm going to pick something like the bounty ad, and I'm thinking immediately I want to try and use my Photoshop skills to create as much of this ad as I can. So I don't just want to copy and paste a sky and ocean from the internet into Photoshop, because that's not showing off my skills. So I'm going to create an ad that has my own gradient for my sky and my water. I might be able to get some sand from the internet, because that's probably a hard image to try and recreate in Photoshop. The coconuts, the palm tree leaves, and the product I will also get from the internet as practice for this. So I've already recreated this, but of course you'll do this in Photoshop. So open up a new Photoshop document. You can already see my bounty version here in front of you. But remember, if you've forgotten, to go to File and select New, and just make sure that it's an A4 page. So here, I'll just pull it across so that you can compare it to what is on my ad inspiration page. This is my version of my bounty ad. Now, I'm not aiming for it to be identical. I'm aiming for it to be my interpretation. And I'm not going to take you step by step through this, because your ads are going to be different. So it's pointless trying to copy what I've done. But this is what you're aiming to do today. You're aiming to create an ad or part of an ad as many times as you can, so that you have some different skills. So here I've created a background layer. If I take off my other layers quickly to show you, I've created a background layer that is split. And I've used the gradient tool and the paintbrush tool on a different transparency to try and create this watery effect. So just a few tips here. With your paintbrush tool, when I click on that, remember I have a menu that crops up. So I have a number of different effects as my paintbrush tool. When I scroll down, just look at all these effects. So you might want to play around with some of these to create different textures, scenery, shapes on your page. So simply select it, and then you're able to paint onto the selected area. So that's how I've created some of these watery effects. The other little thing you might like to try is change the opacity. So it will currently be on yours set to 100, which means it just comes out as a full saturated color. But if I downgrade that, it means my color becomes more see-through. So if I'm layering colors, it's quite interesting to see the color behind, which is how I've created that water effect, where you can see the darkness behind the lighter areas. So try to use some of those functions in today's lesson. If I only want to paint on a particular section of my work, then use the marquee tool. So that's how I've created the horizon line. I've simply drawn with my marquee tool like so. And then when I've used my gradient or my paintbrush tool to draw in that section, it only goes in the section I've actually chosen rather than my whole page. So remember that if you only want to change half or a quarter or a small section of your background. I have used my copy and paste method that we've practiced in previous lessons to add in my other layers of my sand, my coconut leaves, palm tree leaves, my coconuts, and last but not least, my bounty bar. So I think it would be better to actually add some text or a catchy heading into this, which I can play around with the text, even though it's not in my original ad. And then I would go into a new document and have a go at creating another ad that I've made. So, as I said, ask your teacher for little hints and tricks as you're working if you're not sure how to do it. But today is your time to experiment. Play around with the different Photoshop tools, play around with the effects button in the layers panel, and you never know what you're going to come across to make your work just that more interesting. So good luck and have some fun.